All right, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are all doing well. So, kind of like a late night thought type of video. I've been getting some private messages lately of people telling me how much my story inspired them to start their journey or even continue on their journey. And honestly, got really happy from seeing messages like that. And I figured, why not try to impact as many people as possible with doing this? Because I do have a kind of a crazy journey throughout the process, and this is well above average results. Not to be cocky or anything like that, but it's not really heard off of doing what I did in a span of a year, and that's not to be flexing again. It's just to really motivate you guys. So really, how I went from zero, absolutely fucking nothing, into making well over 100 grand in my first year doing this, and having my biggest month was a little under 35K, which I honestly don't think is a lot, and I'm going to be doing a whole lot more next year in my next step in business. But again, here to serve and hope you guys out as much as possible. So just going down from my journey from zero. So well, it all got started. I first saw a YouTube video on this guy just teaching you how to get into sales, basic things like that, and bought his low ticket course. It was pretty shit. Met a lot of good people from that though, so it was definitely worth the money and connections that I made. But right after high school, so I graduated in June of 2024. I got started with that literally right away as soon as I graduated, and what my deal and goal was that I made with my parents, because not a lot of people's parents want them to skip over college or do anything like that. I made an agreement with my mom to skip out on a entire year of college, taking a gap year to focus on business and doing everything that I could with that. And we said, hey, if I make over 10K in a month, I could continue pursuing this for the rest of my life. And I'll touch back on this later, but literally on my last month of like the deal that we had, I ended up hitting little, no, I think it's exactly 20K. So crazy how God's timing actually works, but definitely blessed to be here. So I'll just do like a 6 month timeline to get more context. So from around like June up until October, I say I honestly did nothing with this. I was putting half as bare as work. If I'm being completely honest, I was still working 9 to 5. I used to be a swim instructor, fucking teaching kids how to swim. There's shitty ass fucking management. Sounds so gay when I complain about it. If I'm being honest, but been well over a year since I quit that, so happy I don't have to deal with that anymore. But yeah, I was doing that while doing sales on the side. Was not making a lot of progress, and I decided to do something kind of, I don't know if you call it crazy. I think it wasn't crazy, but people say a lot of people like, oh, what the fuck, he did that. But I ended up deciding to go all in terms of my education and my sales. So what I did is I sold my car, got cash from that, ended up deciding to buy a mentorship, which was all the money I had. At one point, I had even $70 in my account. I could pull it up, but I have like thousands of pictures, so it would take too long. But $70 in my account after I fully invested myself into that program. So shout out my boy JJ. Almost going into depth with doing that, but really a little bit right after I joined, I actually ended up getting a decent opportunity where I was making like 4 to 5K a month, which isn't a lot, but it helped me get kick started and really feel confident in the future on what I was going to do with this. So I feel like in the entire stage, like the hardest part is going to be the breakthrough and getting your first wins and hitting your first 10K month, which honestly, now that I'm here, it's honestly not that hard. Really, the advice that I give people to break through that stage is know that you have to put a shit ton of work in to get good at the skill set, because you're not worthy of having that money and making that money if you don't have the skill sets, right? And also just being patient with the process, because you see people making XYZ in 2, 3, 4 months of doing whatever, and like, damn, that person got success so fast. It's like when you try, you realize it's way harder than what you think it is. You gotta commit yourself way more than you originally think. So just keep that in mind, regardless of where you guys are at with your current, business process if you're a beginner or doing this but not making any progress, or if you already are doing relatively well. Either way, it still applies to every single person, even now where I'm at. But to go back into where I was at, so after 6 months, 7 to 6 months, I ended up having a pretty crazy fallout with the person I was working with, going back to square zero. And then, yeah, that held me back honestly for a good amount of time. But after a few months after that happened, I ended up finding a really good opportunity with somebody who was like one of my closest friends now, and ended up giving me the opportunity. So after that, it's honestly been just history. Every single person that I worked with on that offer has been generally super, super close friends of mine, and we managed to change our lives together, which is great to see. I went from making my highest 5K month to, I want to say what 5, 6, not even no, I think like 4 months later, I was making like 35K. No, I'll say 5 months later, I made nearly 35K in a single month, which is not really heard of, really. I would say, not to be cocky, but yeah, it's not a bad accomplishment to have, right? And I really hope that motivates everybody, because genuinely your life could change overnight. Not It's not like you go from like 0 to 10K or 0 to 20K overnight, but in terms of having an opportunity handed in front of you. So really, if it wasn't one single phone call where I decided to just check in on my friend, I would not have made it to where I was at. I mean, who knows where I'll be at now? Would I have done? Maybe I would have been somewhere better. Maybe somewhere way worse. Only, well, nobody knows actually, which is, I guess, like a good flex to have. But it goes to show you never know what life really brings to you. So it's about just being patient and showing up consistently every single day and being the best version of yourself, and really putting the work in so you get as good as possible with your skill set. So that being said, it's been a kind of a long journey. I'm not doing what I used to do anymore. Moved on to bigger and better with managing clients, with like growth operating, as a lot of people call it. So with marketing, sales, info processes, ads, and copy, just a bunch of stuff like that, right? So that's pretty much been my entire journey. Now, in terms of the parent stuff, because I know a lot of people struggle with this, I have to go through that bullshit. I'll tell you this. Similarly, some quick side note. If your parents are against you doing this, I say honestly, just freeball it and still do it. And the best way to show them is through actual success. I mean, even after I told my mom I was making, like 20, 30, she's like, okay, when are you going back to school? I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is a doctor's salary after 10 years of school. Like, why would I ever do that? But, they still don't click it. But, it's whatever. But that's pretty much the entire journey that I've been through. I honestly didn't go into a lot of detail. I want to leave this a little bit broad, so it's not super niche specific to the struggles that I went. But yeah, there it goes to show how a year of your life can be changed. And I'm just now 19, making 30. That was the biggest month. 20K a month, and next year gonna be making 100K a month at the bare minimum. So I'm gonna be documenting my entire journey from here, trying to impact really as many people as possible and influence their journeys to either get started with this and change their lives, or continue and regardless put a good impact on people. But I hope you guys felt better about where you're at with your process and your business journey now, and continue putting the work in, continue being patient, and just know that overnight things could become a whole lot better and you can be in the right position. But you guys take care, and I'll see y'all again.